Well, a lot of people like talking about their experiences, so I think it's only fitting that I share some of mine. A lot of people know back in 2009, I had an experience where I saw my grandfather's apparition. Waking up, and I later found out that I was probably in the hypnagogic state when it happened, and that sort of state is very facilitative of hallucinatory phenomena. Hallucination has a lot of connotations with it, the word, but a lot of people report seeing apparitions and whatnot when they're in altered states of consciousness like that. Now, that's only one of the many experiences I've had. I have an old video up explaining that one. That was probably the most influential experience ever for me. And in fact, it probably fermented my interest in the paranormal, in ghosts and apparitions and hauntings and mediums and all kinds of shit like that. To me, you know, these things, when I first when I first got interested in this stuff, and when I was younger, in fact, I was raised as a Pentecostal Christian, and they raise you to believe all kinds of crazy things, including the intervention of a spiritual world and whatnot. Even though they have a very skewered idea of what that is, based off of mythology and demons and angels and all kinds of crazy stuff, or at least what I consider crazy now. A lot of people are, you're entitled to your beliefs. Um, Now, when I was younger, I had a belief in the paranormal. I did. But, as I've gotten older, I've pretty much lost that. Even in light of all my experiences. So it kind of it means that I'm a very contradictory person. I am very complicated I have a complex personality, I guess. A lot of people like to say that. That's, you know, an interesting little pickup line right there. But in all honesty, I really can say that I have a very complex personality. I try not to have any set beliefs. I try to remain as detached, objective, and skeptical as possible. Now, when I was a kid, I was raised as a Pentecostal Christian, and as I got older, I kind of, at one point, I finally broke out of it when I was around 16, 15, 16, somewhere in there, and that was when the real bit of genuine or the first, I guess, wave of genuine skepticism really hit me, and I had a crisis of faith, and to some extent, but I was still a believer in preternatural, paranormal things. So I actually jumped into Wicca and whatnot, which is something that had interested me for a long time, and it took me down a long, long journey down the rabbit hole that pretty much led me into agnosticism, and that's where I sit comfortably right now. I am an agnostic. I am interested in the concept of a spiritual dimension, the spirit world, the intervention of something more with this world, but I'm not convinced, and it's been a process. I've had a lot of experiences in my life. I have. I've seen at least two apparitions, two more when I was tripping, but that's a different conversation altogether. I'm joking. Um, no, but I have seen two apparitions. One was what I would call a crisis kitty. Um, it actually happened pretty soon after the experience with my grandfather, and this second apparitional experience pretty much inspired my interest in crisis apparitions. And those are phenomena where, let's say, you wake up in the middle of the night one day and you see your uncle beside your bed, and all of a sudden he disappears, and the next morning you find out your uncle died at the exact same time you saw him. That would be a crisis apparition. Um, Usually there's like a 24-hour period in which you have to classify something as a crisis apparition. 12 hours before, 12 hours after. Um, and you can have looser definitions of a crisis experience, but that's the definition I like to use. That was what was laid out in Phantasms of the Living. Anyways, I was sleeping, and I was in a type of hypnagogic state, just like I was when I saw my grandfather's apparition, um, which was the most powerful experience I've ever had, emotionally at least, afterward. and I've described that in an older video. Um, One night I was sleeping basically, and I woke up. There was a cat. Actually, okay. First off, I was laying down. I felt something sitting on me or something. It was like an animal or something moving on top of me. So I wake up, I grab it, and then I grab it and open my eyes because it surprised me. And all of a sudden, it like hisses at me because it's a cat. It just, like cats do the thing, and I felt it on me. I felt the thing in my hands. I felt it in my hands, and I threw it up against the wall because it shocked me. It scared the hell out of me. It really did. Felt it in my hands. I threw it up against the wall right there because this is the bed I was sleeping in at the time. Threw it up against the wall. Heard it hit the wall. Look over, and there's nothing there. There's nothing there. And a little later, I didn't actually figure anything out, but a little later, over at this house, we didn't even have any cats, but that was a black cat. Over at the other house I grew up on, or at, um, we had a black cat named Sandy, and that cat, pretty much, she would only come to me. I would feed her. I was the only one she would come to, and she died. Well, she may have died. She's probably dead now if she didn't. But she went missing anyways. That's all I know. She went missing around the same time I saw that apparition. Because she just disappeared from the house over there. Nobody really saw her after that, and I didn't put two and two together until a little later. But that was one experience that actually scared me. At the time, I was very prone to belief at that time, and I thought it was like a bad omen or something. But over time and over a lot of research, I really had to learn a lot of this stuff on my own. So in a lot of ways, I've been delving out into the darkness, I guess. When I've been looking into these things, I've tried to do my own research, even though the early stuff was definitely flawed and a little presumptuous of me. But I guess you have to start somewhere. And for me, these things have always been fascinating, but after those experiences, the experience of seeing my grandfather's apparition and seeing the cat, and a lot of other things actually. When I was a kid, I used to have dreams that I thought or felt were precognitive, and I've been keeping a dream journal for the last couple of years. Here's the newest one right here. I'm actually done with this dream journal. Been keeping a journal for years, though. I've got other ones somewhere, and to me, I don't believe in the paranormal. I used to. I definitely did. Part of this dissociation from belief has come about because of my own research. Because the more I research these things, the less convinced I am. I'm a psychology student. I've been studying psychology for years now, and it all ties into my interest in parapsychology. And if you want to say anomalistic psychology, I also have an interest in that. That's the study behind the psychology of beliefs in the paranormal, and also the psychology behind beliefs related to paranormal phenomena. So that's also something I'm very interested in. But getting off that topic, because it is a very, very tough one. Suffice it to say that I'm a very complicated person. I have a very contradictory personality, and I'm someone who's had experiences that I find it very, very difficult to rationalize about. But at the same time, I try and keep all that out of the picture. I've tried to learn to dissociate my experiences from my interest in science and psychology and understanding what's really going on. So for me, I'm more interested in the pursuit of the truth than I am in the pursuit of data, in the pursuit of things that fit any sort of preconception. And that's something that's grown out of my initial dislike for religious or I guess orthodox organized religion. And yeah, so that's my little journey right there. This is a video about my experiences. So, what I think is most important, or one of the key experiences I had, because I don't believe in the paranormal or in psychic phenomena, but I think that there is evidence for them, and we have to assess the quality of the evidence. I think that it's very important to be able to stay level, detached, and balanced in appraising evidence. And okay, one particular experience I had was in Cape May. I've been to Cape May twice, Cape May, New Jersey, America's original seaside resort. Um, got a friend of mine who's brought me up there twice, and I hung out with him and a couple other people. His name's Craig McManus. He's a professional medium from New Jersey, up north. And again, I'm very skeptical of anything like that, but he's a good friend, and he's also, I find mediumship absolutely fascinating. I find the research that's been done into it fascinating, but a lot of it is inconclusive. There's nothing we can really say about it yet, and a lot of mediums are and have been frauds. But anyways, about the experience, we had there was a tour group, and this is at the Imlin Physic Estate, which is a very old house in Cape May. A lot of people call it the original haunted house in Cape May. I was with a tour group. Craig was heading it. There were about 25 people with us, I think. We walked in the parlor area, and it's a really old house. Walked in the parlor area with a friend of mine, Robert Kent Equals. He was the person I brought up with me the first time I went up there. And we went in the parlor. Everybody crowded up in the room and everything, and there was a hallway to the right, to the back right. We were all sitting down, and Craig started doing his little channeling thing, and started, giving information to people who were there and whatnot, and talking about his impressions. And what happened is I heard a voice, a male voice from the hallway. I heard it. I couldn't understand what it said. It was really quick. Couldn't make out any words or anything, but I heard a male voice. And there was nobody in the hall at the time. I asked other people to, be sure that there was nobody in there. And I would have thought nothing of that. I would have thought, hey, suggestibility in a haunted house, right? Just, it's nothing. And I would have dismissed it as that. But right after I heard that voice, Craig actually said, "Oh, and the spirits are telling me that there are two people here who are clairaudient. There are two people here who are clairaudient." Kent was with me too, and I had been doing some hypnosis work with him and trying to facilitate mediumship through hypnosis, which is a different topic altogether. But or at least trying to facilitate the experience of mediumship. But I heard the voice, and I would have dismissed it, but he said that. He said there are two people here who are clairaudient, meaning you can hear spirits in the spiritualistic literature. And when he said that, it tripped me out. It did. And he started describing some experiences this person would have. And at that point in time, I hadn't had any experiences like that, but when I came home a couple of months into it, I had the experience he referred to 2 times. When I would go to bed, I would hear voices all around me and whatnot when I was really tired. And that's actually something that a lot of people report when they're really tired. But so that, that's explicable by that. But I did think it was interesting that correlated. And also, I heard occasional voices. I haven't heard anything in a while. Typically, it's only when I try and meditate or something, or start recording my dreams a lot, that things like that happen, and that could imply a correlation between the subliminal subconscious mental activity and I guess trying to explore those things. And anyways, I had that experience, and then he kept going on and on. And I had an experience where I, right at the same night, I started having problems breathing in the room. And I've never haunted places that I've been in, supposedly haunted ones, I've debunked most of them, but this is something that stuck with me. So I had breathing problems, asked Willie, who's Craig's partner. I asked, if anybody had died in the house from a breathing related issue, which is very vague, I know. But he asked Craig about it, and Craig said, actually, yes. So, I mean, it was really vague what I said. A breathing related problem could mean a lot of things. But that was my experience. I had problems breathing, and I asked the question, and he said, yes. Um, we went upstairs, and Craig actually led us into a room, and he knew I was there. He knows I'm a skeptical person, and he said something right off the bat. He said, because I don't want to give you guys any suggestions, I don't want to be using the power of suggestion here. I will say that there is something that a lot of people experience when they come into this particular room, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. So we walked in the room, and I walked in, pretty crowded room. There was a bed, I think at the right of the doorway. I walk in, first thing I start feeling is like a headache, a splitting headache, and it's almost like I had a really high fever. If you've had a really high fever, you know what I'm talking about. But that's what I noticed. I noticed a headache, and it was like a fever. And I didn't say anything until afterward, honestly. But Craig said, or told everyone, that when people come into this room, I mean, after I'd started feeling it already, of course, but he said when people come into this room, typically they report a splitting headache. They report a headache like that. And he actually said that Dr. Emlyn Physic, I think he said Dr. Physic was the one that died. It might have been somebody else, but he said a man had a head stroke in the room and died. That's how they died. And he was talking about it being some sort of a residual effect. So those are my most powerful experiences. I've got a recording of that night, actually. I kept it, and I was taking notes in my little voice recorder as things were happening. That is the only supposedly haunted house I've been to that has given me a run for my money. There was one place I went to where there were a lot of footsteps in the area, but I kind of deduced, or there were supposed footsteps on the floor, but I kind of figured out that maybe it's those footsteps are coming from upstairs or downstairs, and just kind of sounding as if they're coming from that floor. And also there was a washing machine that which it was off at the time, but a lot of people reported it cutting on by itself in the middle of the night when the door was locked and everything. But I kind of tried to debunk that. I think that it could be explained. The footsteps could be explained by footsteps from the upstairs or downstairs room that was in the Hotel Maycomber on my second visit to Cape May. But even then, I might be wrong. Anyways, I'm fascinated by this stuff. I'm just as fascinated in the psychology behind the experiences as I am in the whether or not the things really exist. Now, I will say that I've had experiences. I have. A lot of people have, and I think that's one of the things that drives me forward, that makes me want to continue looking into these things, because I think they are very relevant and very important if we're going to understand human psychology. And also, I mean, they're just fascinating. They really are when it comes down to it. Those are my experiences. If you have any experiences you'd like to share, you should do so. I think that I know this video is a little different than the ones I've typically put up, but I haven't made one in a month or so, and I figured that it'd be a good thing to post something. So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. Yeah, I think that my life is going to be centered around these things to some extent. Some extent or another, I'm always going to be studying and researching these claims and experiences that people have. This weekend, Friday and Saturday, hopefully I'm going with a friend of mine from the Rhine. Well, he doesn't really work at the Rhine Research Institute, but he volunteers out there. A friend of mine, and we're going to check out supposedly haunted place that might be promising. I'm going to be trying to debunk it the whole time, but um, some of the claims the family has made seem interesting. And he said it sounded like a poltergeist agent from the literature, and because of that, I've been reading something I haven't read in a while, Poltergeist by Cornell and Gold, one of the classic books on it. But yeah, so I am keeping my fingers crossed on that one. I'm definitely open to experiences. I'm definitely open to being shown that there's something more than this, some extra dimensional thing. Uh, but yeah, I'm not convinced. I think some of my research has also influenced me, like the research I've done with people using hypnosis and trying to develop automatisms and the experiences of mediumship. There have been some things that have set me back, but honestly, I think my own personal experiences have influenced me the most, and I think most people who've experienced things like this could say the same thing and would say the same thing. Um, Personally, I am not convinced at all that there is any such thing as paranormal phenomena or psychic phenomena. But I think that the question in and of itself is what is important. I think the question is important, and a lot of people have these experiences. There has been some research, there's been a lot of research done into parapsychological topics in the last 150 years. A lot of it has been bogus. A lot of it has been really good and promising. And actually, I'm kind of hoping in some ways that people, modern researchers, explore the roots of parapsychological research more, delving into some of the things the early psychical researchers were addressing, because they might have been onto something with some of the speculations they were making. I think that the greatest minds in psychical research are from the past. We've had William James. We've had a lot of people interested in the field. Gardner Murphy, who was president of the Psychological Association for a while. Um, but yeah, I'm hoping for more golden years of this type of thing. Whatever the conclusions may be, whether all this stuff turns out to be bunk or not. The point is, a lot of people have had experiences, and this is that's a good starting point. That is a great starting point, and I think we couldn't ask for anything more to keep us motivated. Anyways, that's all I gotta say. Yeah, this is a long video. I haven't made a long one like this in a while. So, anyways, yeah, this has been something personal and yeah, significant to me. So I hope you enjoyed my random 23-minute babble right there. Anyways, yeah, have a good night, good day, whatever.